Hero Arts has a new collection called Yule Fuel, and I've created 2 cards using some of these super cute products. Hey guys, it's Joy here. Here is one of the products that I have. This is the Sassy Elf costume dies, and then I have the Elf Culture stamp and coordinating die. There's some other products in this release that I did not get, but I'm going to show you these 2. I'm also bringing in some older products. I think this was from their July release. So I have this is their candy cane stencil, and I can't remember if that's exactly what it's called, but I will have everything listed and linked for you guys below in the description. And I'm starting with a piece of fog cardstock from Spellbinders. I am using Distress Oxide inks. This one is Spun Sugar, and there's 3 stencils in this candy cane layering stencil, but I'm just going to use 2 because I wanted a thicker candy cane stripe. So I'm laying down my base color of that Spun Sugar. This is going to be a background to one of our cards. Then I am going to use Lumberjack Plaid for the second stencil here, and this is going to give us our fun stripe. So we're going to have this pink and red stripe on our soft gray background. So let me just get that ink blended here. And then I'm going to do a little bit of splatter with the white luster marker from scrapbook.com. Let's peel that back. Look at how cute that is. Oh, I love this candy cane stencil. I do have some other projects from this release here on my YouTube channel using those older Christmas products. So if you want to check that out, you definitely could. Okay, so here's that white luster marker. I'm going to squeeze a little bit of that out on my silicone mat here, and then just do some splattering. And when it dries so much brighter than it looks when you first put it on here. And I love it. So this card has some die cutting. I'm going to bring in some of the other products from, like I said, I think it's July's release. And we're going to incorporate some die cutting and some stamping. So here is this cute Sassy Elf's hat doing a little bit of ink blending with fossilized amber. This is on beeswax cardstock. The green is rainforest cardstock. And I am going to be using Rustic Wilderness to do a little bit of ink blending on that. I do like to do my ink blending on die cuts. Sometimes I don't. It's usually if they're really small or if I have a lot of them, then that just becomes a little bit overwhelming and a lot of work. Not that it's not beautiful, but especially on something like this, I'd love to add some shading to it. I think it looks so nice. So I'm just using my sponge dauber because it's small, and then I can just have a little bit of ink blending, and so we've got that. Then the feather to the elf hat is die cut from Pomegranate cardstock, and I used aged mahogany on it. I'll be honest, I don't love it. I probably should have used a brown because it almost comes out lighter, but I didn't hate it either, and I didn't love it. So I think this I could change out easily. Then from the candy cane swag, I'm going to stamp this candy cane. I stamped it once in the wrong direction because I want this to be part of his hat. So I'm going to stamp the other one. There's 2 candy canes in here in different directions. I have the holly berries, and then I'm going to do the leaves. I am stamping this in Lumberjack Plaid, and the leaves will be in Rustic Wilderness. And this is just going to be part of our decoration. Then there's the sentiment that says OMG Santa, and I die cut that from black mixed media cardstock from scrapbook.com. And I'm going to use the coordinating dies to die cut out these images here. Sorry, I have things on my desk and for some reason it bothers me. I just have to move them. I don't know why. Okay, so let me get all my little dies here. So 1 candy cane, and I wanted it red and white like this, but when I die cut it, when I did the die cutting, I didn't love how much white was on there. So we're going to just do a little bit of ink blending, but that's just personal choice, whatever you want to do. And I'm going to tape that in place with my mint tape. And then I can run these through my die cut machine. And these are different shaped holly leaves, so the die cuts fit 1 each. So just know that. Sometimes you think, am I crazy? Is just not lining up? Yes, in this case, if it's not lining up, it's not the right die cut. I'm going to just do a little bit of ink blending around the edge of my candy cane with the Lumberjack plaid, and I liked it a whole lot better. But again, personal choice, whatever you like. All right, let's get our hat assembled here. I'm using some 1mm foam adhesive across the little band. And I'm doing it at the bottom because I know I'm going to tuck some things in, so I want to have room to do that. And then I'm going to line that up. It's already so cute. It already is so cute. I want the candy cane in there. I definitely want the feather because that's just cute. And then the holly berries will be on the band itself. So let me add some adhesive to my candy cane. And a little bit of adhesive to the feather. 1mm foam adhesive. I do want that to be kind of in front. Let me glue the sentiment first. So I die cut this twice because I want the sentiment to have some thickness to it. I don't have to deal with foam adhesive. And the mixed media cardstock from scrapbook.com is really thick, so I only have to die cut this twice. If I'm using something like 110-pound cardstock, I'm going to die cut it 3 times. That's my own personal preference, but I want it to be thick enough that it actually looks like it's thick. If you're using really thin, cut it 4 or 5 times and layer it like that. And then you'll be really happy with how your sentiment looks. It definitely makes a statement. So I'm going to glue all of these together. I love that that S looks like it's upside down, and that is how it's supposed to be in the die cut. So super cute. We have our little T's here, and then we have exclamation marks that I'm going to adhere for behind each one of the sentiments. But I, for some reason, decided to put glue on all of them, and then I'm like, wait a minute, that's wrong. I only need glue on 2 of them. Apparently I was getting glue happy. And then I will add the little dots to the bottom of those once my sentiments are adhered. All right, foam adhesive behind our leaves. And then we will glue our holly berry to that, and that just kind of finishes off the little decoration on the right side of the hat here. Super cute. I love all the extra adornments here. And then I'm going to do the OMG on the band because I just think it just looks fun. And it adds a little something extra to it. And under the under the hat, I'm going to put Santa. But first I want to pop the hat up with 1mm foam adhesive. Oh, there's the little dots. Kept them in my cardstock so I wouldn't lose them. So let's add our adhesive back here. And then we can place this just kind of in the center of our card, but up a little bit. That way I have room to put the Santa sentiment. So I lined it up. I'm following the curve of the hat and then just adding this sentiment right here. This will be adhered to a white A2 size card base because the background is A2 size. So that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Let's add the A there, and then let's add the S. Remember, it's going to go upside down looking, but it's right. And then I'm going to add the little dots to our exclamation point. Okay, let's go on to our second card. I am stamping images from the Candy Cane swag from a previous release of Hero Arts. Love these products too, you guys. If you don't have them, you might want to think about getting them because they're fantastic, because I'm able to pull these greenery out and use it on my card. I stamped those multiple times because we are going to make a wreath with these fun images from the Elf Culture stamp set. So I have a couple images on here that I did not end up using, the hat and the candy corn. But I used everything else. But again, like I said, I stamped those other images using Rustic Wilderness and Mowed Lawn for the greenery and Lumberjack Plaid for the berries, the red berries. So I'm using Olo markers here. And if you need to watch me slow down on my coloring, you can slow it down using the gear in YouTube. And again, I say this all the time. I know this because my husband is so funny. He listens to things on YouTube sped up twice. That would drive me insane. I could not do it. But that's how I learned that you could even change the speed on YouTube. But yeah, he likes to listen to everything sped up. It's so funny. Okay, so we have this cute book that says, there's room for everyone on the nice list, which I think is so darling, with a cute little sled. Then we have the little Sketch-A-Lot. At the bottom, we have our little jar of maple syrup. How cute is that? The raccoon. My youngest son would love to have a pet raccoon. He talks about it all the time. I'm like, don't you dare bring a pet raccoon home. But if he could go hug one, that would be his most favorite thing ever. Then we have the candy corn, we have candy canes, and candy, because in the stamp set, it has fun sentiments. One of them talks about, you know, the major groups or whatever, food groups, the candy canes, candy corns, candy, and syrup. That's so cute. Cute images in this stamp set, cute sentiments. And I just was trying to think of like, how do I want to display all this? I don't want to just, you know, put it into little sections on my card. And I thought, you know what, a wreath would be really cute and kind of funny with all of these images. So that's what we're going to do, which is why we needed all of that greenery from the previously released candy cane swags. And I knew I had to do coloring on these images. So you could use die cuts if you needed to for your greenery, but I liked that they were stamped solid images, super easy to do. And then I just die cut them all out. But I did stamp them, like I said, multiple times to get a lot of greenery. And I actually stamped just enough, which is weird. Normally I end up doing too many in a good way, but I did not this time. So for my red images here that I'm coloring, when I was looking through my Olo markers, I forgot that I had a darker, like the darkest red. So I do come back and add that to it, which makes everything to me look 1,000 times better. I think these little candy corns are so cute. And I was kind of bummed that they did not fit on my card design and that I had to kind of ixnay them. But yeah, super cute. All right, we got our candy canes, a little bit of red. I'm just adding a little bit of a light gray just to give the white area color. So here I thought my RO5 was my darkest color. It's not. RO6 is my darkest color that I'm going to bring in and use, but I love this little Sketch-A-Lot. I think it's so cute. I love that it says Merry Christmas. I think that's fun. You have your little cluster of candies over there that we're going to color. I think this card is really cheerful. So because I'm making it a wreath and these images are big, it does not fit on an A2 size card. So I made a square card. So the card base is 5 by 5. So I trimmed a piece of cardstock that's 10 inches by 5 inches, scored it at 5 inches. And so now we have a 5 by 5 square. And then I'm going to be using some fawn cardstock for the background. And that is measured 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. So those are the measurements for that. Here's our cute little candies. Here's my darker red that I'm like, oh yeah, I thought I had a darker red. Funny. And that looks so much better now for me. I love that darker red. And then I'm just going to blend that out just a little bit. And then we will finish off with those cute little candies. And of course, there's coordinating dies for this that I used. So fun. Let me bring in a little bit of yellow. On that big candy, I'm going to do some yellow and pinks. And then those guys are finished. Okay, so on my card panel, I just took my tape roll and I'm just doing a light pencil circle. You don't have to do this. I just needed a circle so I could get my wreath right to where I could just line things up. I don't even have to erase it because everything covers it up, but I needed somewhere to have a visual. And then I am going to place my sentiment inside, and it says, "It's just nice knowing we share an affinity for elf culture." So again, this is from the Elf Culture stamp set. I'm going to make sure everything is straight, centered in that circle. I'm going to do some white heat embossing for the sentiment. So I'm prepping that with an anti-static powder tool so that way any little stray pieces of embossing powder won't stick. Hopefully, sometimes it still does, but you can just brush that off with a paintbrush. I will zoom my camera out in a minute. I'm so sorry. But I'm going to sprinkle that on and then use my heat tool to heat that up until it is melted. And you know it's melted when it is nice and shiny. And then once that cools down, I will just lightly buff off all of that dust. And then I'm going to take in my white luster marker and splatter the background a little bit. Just needs a little something extra because I didn't want to ink blend the background. Nothing was ink blended here So I didn't want to do that, but I did want to add a little something extra. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry for a second while I get my foam adhesive behind my 3 major images here, and they're major because they're bigger. So I'm going to start by placing those down, then I can get my greenery in place, then we can do the little images. So that's kind of how I like to work. I think it is easier when you start with your biggest images and where they're going to be placed. So again, I have that little pencil circle that I can use as my guide. I do end up moving some of these around a little bit. But look at how fun they are. Aren't they so fun? They're so cute. I just can't even get enough of these. So we have our little raccoon. Let me adjust our sketch a lot here, our little Etch-a-Sketch. And our raccoon. Let me get those adjusted just a little bit so they're a little more evenly spaced. They're not perfect. It's totally fine. Not a big deal. Then I'm going to start with some of my bigger greenery and just kind of get an idea of where I want these to be placed. These will have some 1mm foam adhesive behind them. Wait a minute. I think I did 2mm foam adhesive. Yeah. Let me correct myself. I did 2mm foam adhesive behind the bigger images and then 1mm foam adhesive behind these smaller ones. And I'm just trimming off some of those tails because they're just kind of getting in the way. Or tails, stems, not tails. Then I have some of these other greenery. I want to kind of alternate between the mowed lawn greenery and the rustic wilderness greenery. I don't want all of them to be in the same spot. So I'm kind of trying to spread that out and also trying to unclog my glue, even though I just used it not that long ago. So then I can place that larger pine needle and the smaller pine needle. And then this greenery here will kind of come up and overlap the book and then the raccoon and then the sketch-a-lot. So this is just how I'm building it. Obviously you guys could do however you want. And then a little bit of liquid glue behind these guys. I'm going to tuck that one under the book. But having dimension, I really think is key. Even if it's just a little bit of dimension. If you're not someone who wants like a lot of dimension, just get like a 1mm foam adhesive. That's what I'm using behind some of these greeneries. It's so low profile. It's not even a big deal, but dimension really adds a lot to your card. Visually, it's really, really nice, especially on something like this. So I'm going to get these tucked around again. I'm just kind of looking at that little pencil circle that I made, just so I have a good idea of where things are going to go. Oh, so cute. Let me get the last of these guys in place. I love how this is turning out. I think this card is so fun and so playful and very Christmassy with its wreath. All right, let's get this last little guy here. Then we have our holly berries and leaves that I'm going to put down. I like that pop of red that's kind of consistent around the wreath, even though we have that red sketch-a-lot there. I think having the berries really adds something nice. If you didn't want to do, if you didn't have any images like this, you could use like a red pops of color or red gems or, you know, anything like that. You could sequence whatever. You could add some of those and that'd be really cute too. I needed to fill in that space where the raccoon was, so that's why I decided to place that there. And then I'm just going to keep it in that same area on the other two images, just so it is cohesive and consistent. So I like to glue the leaves together and then add a little bit of foam adhesive. This is 2mm foam adhesive, and then place it next to those images and then adhere the berries to that. So for the other little images that we colored, I mentioned I'm not using the candy corn and I'm not going to use the little Santa hat. So I'm going to use the collection of candy, the candy canes, and the maple syrup bottle. So we're going to place those on top of the greenery to kind of fill in that space with some more images. And I'm just going to use some liquid glue and glue them directly to that. And then this will be adhered to that 5x5 card panel that I created. So let's adhere it to that. And that's going to give us a nice little white mat, which I think looks really pretty and finishes it off. Not all cards need that, but some of them do. And then we can take a look at both of these cards up close. They are so darling. Again, this is the Yule Fuel collection, only part of it from Hero Arts. I love this one. This is my favorite card out of the two, for sure. And then here is that first card that we made with the Sassy Elf costume dies. Okay, guys, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you feel inspired by these projects. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will be back soon with another video.